It's another Monday, and this is an extra special one because it's Tribute Week. I'm super excited. And, in all the podcasts that I've done, which I don't know how many I've done to this point, but I know quite a few, I've always had notes, just kind of an overview of what I'm going to talk about. And today I don't, because I decided the most obvious thing to talk about would be tribute. And I believe not only does it kind of explain a little bit more about it, but the journey that it's taken to get here and the lessons learned in these 7 years, I think, are valuable for everyone out there who has had an idea that they wanted to pursue, and for whatever reason, maybe put it off, or just the realization of, just as it was in our business, it's taken now 7 years to get tribute to a point where it's actually starting to function in a more functional way. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. Tribute was born out of, to be honest, frustration. We were accomplishing a lot in different parts of the world. We had more recognition in New York and Europe within the fashion world than I felt like we did in our backyard, which the beautiful thing about social media and just life is, now you can take those things into your own hands. So it started there. That was the original concept. It also was because we had so many successful models who were doing really well, and their families never got to experience them walking in a fashion show unless they had the ability to go to New York or go wherever. And the reality is that that's not always easy or reality. And so it was fun to be able to bring it back. I'll never forget, I think it was our first tribute. It was during a time we had one of our models, Lauren Bigelow, was doing extremely well, traveling the world. And the first year that we did tribute, I think maybe we had 200 people come, maybe 150, 200 people, and 50 of them were Lauren's family, which was great. Every time she would walk down, they would cheer, but they were also it was just a rally of support for, obviously, we're very passionate about models. I don't think people outside of the fashion world realize the discipline, the sacrifice, the dedication that it takes. We have young women and men who are in their late teens and early 20s, really successfully navigating in an international world. And we believe, and still do, that that's something that should be acknowledged and recognized. It's just really important. The other thing is, as we were traveling around, people would say, "Oh, can you get me tickets to Fashion Week?" And we'd have to explain it doesn't really work that way. You have to be on a list, and here's the different ways that you can be on a list. So that was part of it. And also another part of it is I just like to celebrate milestones. I think celebrating a milestone makes life measurable. And, so the first year we did well. The second year was a disappointment to us. Everything that could have gone wrong during that show did. And then in the third and fourth years, we were elevating, doing a show at the Scottish Rite Temple, which was a very interesting experience. And then I just feel like we refined our process and the team started to come together. And I feel that that happens in life, it happens in business, it happens within a model's career, and it also happened in the process of tribute, which the beautiful thing is that the core people that helped us begin, maybe they moved on to something else, but the reality was it evolved, it's continued to evolve, which is very exciting. The journey of getting from A to B is something that I always talk about in these podcasts, because I think in the today's world of everything people want things instant, or everything that's on social media, kind of it's skewed the reality of that goals take time. I saw today on Gary Vee's Instagram, he said that great things should be hard. And it's the truth. And the belief that we've had about tribute and what it could be all throughout this whole process, every year we didn't hit that mark, but every year we got closer. And this year, it's very exciting to have it in A, a circus tent, B, that kind of lends itself to the other thing that has always been a huge part of what tribute is, and that is that, you know, if I go to one more stuffy, boring fashion show, I hope that I don't have to keep doing that forever. I'm not talking about the shows in New York and at a high level. I'm just saying that sometimes there was a disconnect in the middle, and fashion shows became kind of for the elite, and they weren't that exciting, and in my opinion, they were not that inspiring. And to take the reins and say, oh, I remember being a girl watching fashion shows in the 90s, and there was a spectacle to them, and there was something fun about it, and there was an energy. It was fun to be able to produce something and feel that we brought that back into it. And the name in and of itself, Tribute, we kept trying to come up with a name and what that should be. And it was a tribute to the models. It's a tribute to the journey. It's also a tribute to those 90s supermodels and all the things that for the creative team were instrumental in getting them to follow this pursuit and this career. And beyond that, it's a tribute to that fashion should be fun, and it should not be a disconnect between what's happening on the coast and what's happening right here in Middle America. So that was another big incentive or reason to create something like it. Now, here's the really cool thing that's evolved. When we started really developing models, we could use other markets, regional markets, and over time that became more and more of a challenge, and it also became an expense to the model that you start to weigh and measure, is this worth it? So to be able to also use it as a development for our models, I have to take a drink of water. So for example, Alanna Arrington, it was the first show she ever walked in. Jay Wright, it wasn't the first show she ever walked in, but it was around that time. Katie Green, a lot of the models that we were launching, Hazel Crew, they started on the tribute runway. So then when that next step was Fashion Week in a major market, they'd had some experience that was really valuable and really special. The thing that evolved that we didn't expect, that is just, I have come to believe is the most beautiful part of it, is the feeling of community and family and support that surrounds Mother, the models, the parents, the hair and makeup teams, everybody that comes around to help support, the stylists, the photographers, the videographers, always comment on what a positive, uplifting, inspiring group of young people. And they really have each other's back, and they really support each other. And my beef has always been, and I know that Jeff feels the same way, people's perception of what the modeling world is, unfortunately, for a long time, the people that don't have access to that world on the coast, it was, oh, it's like America's Next Top Model. It's, the girls are really mean to each other, and it's this cutthroat environment, and the reality is that that's not what it is, not what it has to be, and the culture of Mother is very much the opposite of that. And finally, I think I've shared this story before, but I think it's worth repeating. We have the pleasure and honor of having great relationships with a lot of casting directors and people in the fashion world that are, even though we're geographically somewhere else, we get to see them enough that the friendship is really there. And one of the people through the years that we became friends with is James Scully, who really successful casting director who has really used his voice, especially as of late, and sharing what changes he believes are really crucial and really important in the fashion world, in the modeling world. And it's been really wonderful to see that the world has listened and they've paid attention to what he is saying. And a memory before we started Tribute, in the early days where it was just kind of a concept or idea or a dream, we were standing outside of, this was when the shows were at the tents. And I remember standing outside and having a conversation with him. No, it was when they were at Lincoln Center. And we were standing outside having this chat. And he was saying that he missed the fun of what it used to be, the camaraderie that was amongst the models, because he was there in those times when the day of the supermodel, and he was kind of reminiscing that he was kind of sad that it had changed. It wasn't quite exactly how it used to be, and that was a conversation that really did make a difference and made me think, I really want to do this. And in every way, as soon as I shared it with Jeff, he was completely supportive. And I look at what it's become, I look at what it's evolved into, and it's just really special. And I know that it's one of those milestones in the life of our models, in the life of our company, that is really, really important. So my encouragement to you is, if you're around, we'd love to have you join us for this tribute. It's going to be spectacular. I'm sure we're going to be sharing tons, well, I know we are, on social media. And in the meantime, I encourage you to pick up any dreams or ideas that you've had or put to the side, or maybe talked yourself out of, because I'm telling you, I was so close to doing that with this. Or maybe you've started a pursuit and it's not happening in the time frame that you want, or you're at a disappointing part of that journey. We experienced that as well. And the reality is, if that would have stopped us, we wouldn't be here today preparing for what we are certain is going to be the best show that we've done. I hope that this podcast continues to inspire you to follow your dreams. Remember those things in your heart that have always been important to you. Look at the positive side. Don't weigh and measure every step, because you'll get there when you're supposed to get there. Make it a great week, and I hope that we get to see a ton of you this Saturday night at the Big Top. Have a great week.